For most of us, flying suggests all the well-known crowding and tedium of passenger jets. But for the radio-controlled modelers who fly out of Mitchell Air Park's tiny field in central Saanich, flight remains an enduring fascination. Most of their models are large enough they have to be assembled on site, like this fully aerobatic Citabria Explorer. In good weather, you'll usually find guys at the benches, working on their models, or running them up, or just sitting in the shade and shooting the breeze about airplanes.
The left engine coughed. So he's off the runway, and now he caught it, and now he's off in the grass, and he just poured it to it. And he said he's heading towards a gun emplacement, and he said you could see like the cartoons, the guys, little fingers running away.
Guys are always willing to talk about their models.
This is a Pilot RC ARF, all-ready to fly type of aircraft. And it's an Edge 5 modeled after a full-scale Edge 540, although it's not scale. It's got a 60 cc DA engine in it, two-stroke. On these planes, you just really assemble. It's not really building because the wings already come pre-covered. I put some graphics on it a little bit. I'm a Seahawks fan, so you can see that it was green like the Seahawks. So I just did a few little things like that to make it look a little bit more interesting. But yeah, it's a very basic aerobatic.
This is the Russian Sukhoi aerobatic airplane. It's a 97-inch wingspan with an 85cc engine swinging 28-inch prop. It weighs about 24 pounds. I've been flying for pretty close to 30-odd years, so it's second nature, like riding a bicycle.
This is a RC plane from Banana RC. It's called an ARF, almost ready to fly. So there are a couple of glue joints on the wings, the tail feathers, but everything else is together. This is a B-25, a later edition of the aircraft. My particular interest is my dad flew in these in North Africa and up through Sicily. He's still with me, so I still like to fly this, and he can watch it occasionally.
Their purpose is flying models, but they're also an organized club with regular meetings.
Hello and welcome everybody. Is there anybody visiting? The VRCMS, which is the Victoria Radio Control Modelers Society. We fly any electric, gas, glow airplanes of any size, basically. We've been here probably for about 20 plus years, I would say, at this site, and have maintained it. We are a club of 55 members, and we hold various events throughout the year. Electric flies, float flies up at Lake Cowichan, scale meets, pattern contest.
Ryan reported on his visit to the Triple Tree Airdrome in South Carolina.
I went there without an airplane and without anything. I just went as a spectator, and it was great. It is a very, very large site. And just to give you a little perspective, if this was the center of the main flight line, so if that was our main flight line here, to walk from the main flight line to the 3D line, it's at the far end of the Saanich Historical Society.
I asked Ryan to explain the operation of radio-controlled aircraft.
So this is a Pilot Extra 330 SC. It's made in China, but it's called an ARF, which is almost ready to fly. This particular airplane has a 55cc two-stroke gas motor. So inside the plane, I have the fuel tank, I have one 2-cell 2000 milliamp battery for the receiver, for the ignition, and I have two 3000 milliamp 2-cell LiPos for the receiver. So there's a radio link that goes between my radio and this receiver, and when I program it the way I want, it will control the different functions of the aircraft. So on the aircraft itself, before I put the wings on, I have one servo in the middle here, which is for the rudder. It has individual elevator servos, which are actually mounted underneath inside the stab. It also has an ignition kill switch, which isn't always mandatory, but it's a really good idea. And what happens is I have a switch here that I can turn the ignition on and off, but I can remotely control the ignition from my radio. This is my fuel fill here. It has a 23x9 carbon fiber two-bladed propeller. The carbon fiber propellers are very light, they spool up very quickly, and they can handle hitting the ground a little bit better, but they're a lot more expensive. So this is a Pilot Extra 330 SC. It's a 30% scale, so it's 30% the size of the full-scale model. The full-scale model is made by Extra Aircraft Company in Germany and is won the World Aerobatic Championships multiple times. So it's a fully aerobatic plane, just like the full-scale one. The nice thing about the models is that this can do stuff that the full-scale can't do because there's no pilot in it. I'll take off and just do a trim circuit downwind. I'm going to go downwind, I'm going to go straight up, and I'm going to do a stall turn. So I'm pulling vertical now, climbing, pulling back on the throttle, into the wind. Coming straight down, we'll do a little roll, straight out, now we're coming back. And I'm going to pull up to a straight vertical line, so pulling up now, wasn't very straight. And I'm going to climb straight up again, stall turn the other way. This is called a Humpty Bump. I'm going straight up, I'm going to push it over the top, and then I'm going to roll straight.
This is a model of an OH6 Cayuse. This particular model is built around T-Rex mechanics, 600 size, so rotor blades are 600 millimeters long each side. The helicopter has collective pitch. It's got fore and aft cyclic, left and right cyclic, and full tail rotor. It is called a fly barless. There's no fly bar on that. So it's got a gyro that controls the pitch motion on the helicopter. Flies really nice. Don't do aerobatics, just scale flying with this helicopter. Weighs in at about 9 pounds, as a pod and boom helicopter would come in at about 6.5 pounds. So it's a little heavy, but it's fun to fly.
This is the Vought F4U Corsair. It flew in World War II and in the Korean War as a fighter bomber. This Olympus model is designed specifically for aerobatics. They drive up to Missachi Lake to fly their float-equipped models, like this Twin Otter that's being refueled.
This is a computer radio, and it's just looking for windows.
Yeah.
Like I could fly this airplane and have total control over these trees over there, but I have trouble seeing it. And it's got all the controls that a real one has. There's aileron, elevator, rudder, and then I have a switch that I can control the steering by increasing power in one engine or the other. And then I have controls. This is throttle for both, and this is trim for one for each. And so what I do is I'll start it, and at the different ranges, I'll try and get the same RPM on each engine. Got the ignition on. See what happens. So now I steer it by left and right rudder, so up and down on my throttle.
Can I get you to tell me what's the purpose of the chase boat?
Because not every airplane's reliable to come all the way back. So any float fly, you have to have a boat.
Okay.
Somebody's got to bring a boat.
A de Havilland Beaver, and another with U.S. Air Force insignia. I happen to have a particular affection for the Super Cub. I got my float endorsement in one of these 40-odd years ago.
Good in first flight.
This is a scratch-built PBY. It's a 102-inch wingspan. It was built by Ray McDougall, and we're going to give it a test flight today.
He did a pretty good job.
Back at Mitchell Air Park, the popular Mid-August Air Show has raised over $250 million for local charities.
Sponsors are Arthur Johnson Industries, Viking Air, another big sponsor, and Proline. I'd also like to acknowledge our neighbors who have kindly allowed us access to undertake such a large event.
Lots of models on display, and I was by no means the only visitor with a camera. This is a Fokker Eindecker, which was flown by Max Immelmann, who is credited with 15 victories, as well as the aerial maneuver known as the Immelmann turn. The Fokker triplane was made famous by Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron, credited with 80 combat victories, and this is his victory roll. Unfortunately, I never got the Sopwith Camel in flight, but it was in one of these that the Canadian Captain Arthur Ray Brown was credited with shooting down the Red Baron. The Fokker EV, one of the world's first monoplane fighters, came out in the final months of World War I. The American Stearman Cadet, and what fascinated me about it was this tiny radial engine. The Japanese Zero was a very effective fighter in the hands of an experienced pilot, but it had weaknesses, including a propensity to burn up if it was hit by a couple of lucky shots. And to this day, we still owe so much to the few who flew these Spitfires in the Battle of Britain. The American A-10 Warthog entered service in 1976, specifically designed for close air support. De Havilland Canada's DHC Buffalo is flown by RCAF Search and Rescue out of Comox, BC. And my personal favorite, you gotta love this one.
It's a model of a Curtiss Hawk P6E. That's what it was built as I think it was the last biplane built for the US Army Air Corps. I bought the model because I like the look of it, and it's one of the last with the scallop trailing edges, which would be hard to do to build. It's an art. So this one is powered by a 38cc 4-stroke gas motor. It swings a 20 by 6 inch prop, and it shuttles around quite nicely.
Every flight comes back to Earth, trailing memories of the sky, its beauty, its magic, and the many ways we reach for it.